October 2001. All Cabinet members are in attendance, so there are no apologies to give, so that moves us swiftly to item 3 on the agenda, which is declarations of interest. Justine, is there anything to add here?
Thank you, Leader. Good morning, everyone. My only advice is in relation to agenda item 7 on Green Meadow Community Farm. If members are appointed by the local authority to the Shadow Board, then it's a personal but non-prejudicial interest. Councillor Owen has emailed me, and Councillor Owen, is this something that you wish to declare?
Yes, please, Justine.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Leader. I have no further advice.
Okay, thank you, Justine. Thank you, members. So we can move on to item number 4, which is the confirmation of the Cabinet minutes from the 7th of September. Is everyone happy with those as a true and accurate record? I'll take that as consent. No matters arising from those that we need to pick up at this time? If not, then on to agenda item 5, which is updates on actions. There's only one action listed there, and that's the summary document from the Green Infrastructure Strategy, and I guess that's in hand.
It is, Leader, thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. Anything to add here? Okay.
No further.
Great, we can move to item number 6 then, which is the recycling and waste, the procurement of the new recycling fleet. And if I can hand over initially to Mandy on this one.
Thank you, Leader. As quite simply a report before us today, but it's one part of a much more strategic change on how we manage our recycling in the future. Cabinet will recall that in 2019 we signed off the recycling and waste strategy, which outlined our plans and ambition to deliver against the climate change agenda and also meet our responsibilities of achieving 70% recycling by 2024-25. As part of this, we need to ensure that we have the best and most up-to-date vehicles for curbside collections. As Cabinet will know, we currently have 2 vehicles undertaking what is known as dry recycling collections and food waste. One vehicle collects the food and card, and the other collects plastic, paper, cans and glass. Having been through scrutiny, I authorised the commencement of the procurement process for the new vehicles based on a one-pass model. This is where all the materials I've just listed can be collected on the one vehicle. I can also advise these new vehicles will also be able to carry textiles, small electrical waste and batteries, which is a significant improvement for our residents. The next stage will be to ensure that we have the appropriate containers for our residents. The report outlines the outcome of the procurement process. I can advise that there's a lot of soft market testing went in to determine if we could make a straight transition to an electrical fleet, but unfortunately the market is out of test, only at testing point and not delivery phase. Given the condition of our current vehicles, we need to ensure that service delivery and resilience, and cannot take the change on procuring 18 vehicles when the performance is not guaranteed. We also can't eke out our vehicles any longer. They need to be replaced. I can advise, however, that officers are working hard on a report to bring in 2 electrical refuse vehicles as part of our core fleet. They just aren't available yet for the recycling chassis. Therefore, approval is sought, given the value, to award the contractor for the supply of 18 vehicles. Thank you. I think I'll hand you over to Rachel now.
Thanks, Councillor Owen. Yeah, members, report is quite straightforward. As Councillor Owen outlined, this is part of a larger strategic review of the service. We are looking, obviously members will recall, at the depots for where the vehicles will offload. This is still subject to review, and can advise I've got meetings with Welsh Government officials this week, but the vehicles do need replacing. This will bring efficiencies into the service. I am really gutted we couldn't go to electric straight off. It does mean that we will not be transitioning to electric recycling fleet until 2029-2030, which takes us right to the cusp of the 2030 commitment, but we have to be realistic and our priority has to be service resilience. Quite a straightforward report. Procurement has been undertaken properly. There is a good market out there, and we're confident that the vehicles will come forward in due course. The one thing I should say is, as with everything at the moment that seems to be being built, we were hoping to undertake the service change in September 22 or October 2022. The vehicles now the manufacturers are, because of supply of key parts and components, they are advising we might not get the vehicles until Christmas 2022. We would not do a service change through the height of the winter because we know that with snow, etc., we get enough disruption as it is, and that change will just cause more concerns for residents, as we do have to reroute our vehicles and change the rounds. There shouldn't be any disruption for the public on the back of that. So we will be looking at a service rollout of March 23 in terms of the holistic implementation of the new rounds. They will, as soon as they come in, they will be being used as backup, but not the whole service change, unfortunately. But it is just due to the market of the supply of vehicles at the moment. I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you, Rachel. Any questions, members? Yeah, I've got a few questions if I can come in then. Obviously, I welcome the comments that have been made by Mandy and Rachel about carbon reduction in the fleet. I get that we can't wait any longer because reliability issues really to replace these. It's always been a bit of a chicken and egg situation, hasn't it? We've wanted to delay this as much as we could to see what came online, but I take your point about the electric solutions only being at testing stage, and also we're keeping an eye on hydrogen as well, aren't we, I guess? I guess my question was about the test vehicles. If maybe we can have a report on that at a later date, what the aim is there and how that progresses. Also, I welcome in the report the points that are made about minimising mileage and reducing the mileage because of the increased efficiency of the vehicles being able to do more, because of course that has a carbon reduction benefit as well, and that's welcome. I think the replacement is welcome because we have been facing reliability issues because of vehicles breaking down, haven't we? And that's difficult, and obviously that's inconvenient for residents and the crews too. So that would be welcome. I was going to ask about the timing. You've answered that, March 2023. That makes sense not to do it in the middle of the winter. And you mentioned the rerouting as well. I was going to ask about that. The details really of the rerouting, so that we can make sure that I'm sure you will make sure that it fits in with the crew, so we can sort of maximise the reliability of those routes really. But yeah, this is always a difficult one, isn't it? Because in an ideal world there would be an electric, a low carbon solution ready for us at the point at which we need to transition, but we can't wait forever. And so this seems to me to be the best way forward.
Thanks, Leader. Yeah, as I said, so this is where the industry is just developing at different rates. As Councillor Owen advised, we are looking to bring in, as part of our core fleet, 2 electric refuse vehicles, because 2 of them are due for renew over next year. And we're going to be bringing a report forward. Actually, it'll be a Chief Officer report to myself the next week or so to sign off that procurement process. That will be supported by Welsh Government. The recycling chassis, now this is all to do with chassis and load and the technology on the vehicle. The industry are literally only at test stage, and there is Welsh Government are supporting councils who've got an already sustainable and resilient fleet. So say if they've got a fleet which is 1 or 2 years old, they're going to be working with those to test these vehicles. Because our vehicles need complete replacement, we're not able to just absorb some test vehicles as part of this, because we can't risk the chance of our existing fleet and the test fleet breaking down, because that would then lead to significant service failure. What we have said to the preferred contractor is that, because they're all working on this next generation of EV vehicles, is we want to be one of those test and pilot and development authorities where they can try different things with us. And we're also part of the CCR programme, but because of the nature of our recycling fleet, it just wasn't able to be brought in at this stage. But we are very, very keen, and we will continue to work on the EV side of it. The rerouting is absolutely key. We want to minimise customer disruption, but clearly, we had 2 vehicles and now coming down to 1. They will be doing fewer households as they go through the rounds, and so that is the bit that's being looked at, but also looking at being technology driven within cab technology. So the computer will actually tell the driver, Mrs. Jones at number 2 has an assisted collection, so we will get over some of those operational problems which we know cause a lot of concern and distress to our residents, and fill up your postbag. So that's all part of the rerouting project as well. I said, this, that they have done service changes before. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of work because of the potential disruption on the customer, but we'll make sure that's mitigated as much as possible.
Great, that's welcome, because I know it is an issue that does fill our postbags as members. Things can go right 99 times. If they go wrong once, that's the one we hear about. So that's welcome. I guess it's that particular challenge you outlined really about these vehicles, because I guess it's the combination of them being heavy and having to start and stop a lot, which makes it difficult for the low carbon solutions. I think that's worth us explaining, because sometimes people see that they're electric vehicles and think that it would be easy for us just to switch over to those, but that's a welcome explanation, and I welcome the reassurance that we're doing everything we can on that, and that is important as well as the service quality issues. Any more questions, colleagues? If not, can we move to the recommendations of the reports, which are at paragraph 8.1. Recommend that Cabinet approves the award of contracts for Lot 1 for the sum of £261,291 to the highest scoring tenderer, based on price and quality for the provision of 2 small RRV vehicles, and contract Lot 2 for the sum of £167,515 to the highest scoring tender based on price and quality for the provision of 1 large narrow access RRV vehicle, and contract 3 for the sum of £2,512,752 for the provision of 15 large RRV vehicles. If there are no more comments, colleagues, are we all happy to take that by show of hands? Everyone in favour? That's carried unanimously. So that's great. Thank you, colleagues. If we move on then to agenda item 7, which is Green Meadow Community Farm, and if I hand over initially to Fiona for this.
Thank you, Leader. So the council's made a decision that it wishes to keep the farm open, which is a positive thing, and that we all know that our communities and ourselves value the range of services, quality services that the farm provides. The farm needs to become financially sustainable, but we also accept that an investment will need to be put into it to achieve this goal, which we approved on the 21st of September. The process so far has established that a financially sustainable model for the farm is possible with the appropriate investment, and a more commercial operating model, which is the key here. I want to draw your attention to 4.8. The farm needs to generate income that not only sustains itself, but also provides growth money. Breaking even is not sufficient. Future development will be an inherent part of the commercial operating approach, meaning the farm and its offer will continue to change over time. It should be recognised, therefore, that the identified 500,000 of investment may not deliver a finished article, but rather mark the start of the farm's next chapter and ongoing development. This is just for clarity, members, so that we know that we're on a journey, and I think it's really important to highlight that point. The farm needs to operate on a much more commercial basis, and it's recommended that a new business-focused role be created to lead that approach, which is the key to this report, and the role will be instrumental in refining and building on the foundations provided by the work completed to date and developing a financially sustainable commercial model. And once this is all in place, a report will be brought to Council requesting the release of the identified investment spend in line with the options proposed at that time. And excuse my dog if you heard him barking in the background, but he decided that he wanted to have a little chat as well. That's my introduction. I hope that's concise but detailed enough for everybody. I'll pass over to Keith now.
Thank you, Councillor Cross. I don't really think I've got anything to add. I think the report takes us to where we need to be. We'll seek to develop a job description, get it evaluated and advertised, and hopefully get somebody in post by early January. and then that commercial manager can have a look at the survey that went out and the asks and take a view on whether or not those are the areas that we wish to invest and take forward. So I think, it is what it is. We need this post. That was recommended by the consultants when they came in between January and May. They felt we did need that commercial manager. And I think having had the numerous conversations we've had about the farm over the last year and years, I think that is evident. So I'm happy to try and answer any questions.
Thanks, colleagues. Any questions or points people want to make on this report? Kelly?
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. It's not a question, it's more of a comment, really. Just to say thank you for the report. Obviously, as Fiona said, the decision's been made to retain and invest in the farm, and I fully agree that the farm needs to operate on a more commercial basis and is not only financially sustainable but also releases money for it to continue to grow for the benefit of all the users and to ensure that we make the most of the asset that we've got. Again, Fiona said this is a journey, it's the start of a journey, and I look forward to seeing the progress as things move forward and hope that we can see things. And I think it's really important that things move forward now with some pace, taking on board Fiona's comments about it being a journey, but I do think we need to see things move forward with pace. So I'm really pleased to see the report today. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kelly. Any other members got any comments on this one? I just would like to thank officers for their work on this. I know it's not been an easy one. We're very keen as members to support the farm, but I think we want to move beyond that false choice that we've had over the years of just are you for it or against it into something a bit more nuanced, and we want to put it in a better place. We're not back here in another couple of years' time. We realise that needs some investment, and I think this is the right first step, really, getting someone in who can add to the talents that are already down at the farm, not replace those people, but just add to their mix of talent so that it can move forward. I really believe the farm can be a central part of our community's offer and a fantastic visitor attraction as well. And I think this is a key next step, I should say, to making that a reality. So I'd commend this report to members, and I look forward to taking this forward as and when that appointment process pans out, if this is approved today, so that we can work with the team at the farm to try and give it a bright future. As a parent myself, I know how much I've valued the place over the years, and I just want to make sure that it's there and something that can thrive for future generations as well. So I welcome that. Any other comments before we move to the recommendations? The recommendations are at paragraph 8.1. It's recommended that Cabinet approve the need for the farm to operate and take decisions from a much more commercial basis and the creation of a business-focused role as outlined in paragraph 6.1.2 above. Are we all happy with that by show of hands? I believe that's unanimous, no one against, so that is carried. Thank you, colleagues. If we move then to agenda item 8, which is the Young Person Enhanced Support Service Pathway, is it Simon Rose going to come in first about this?
Can I just come in there, Leader? Simon's off on the sick.
Of course, can you come in?
Sorry, just to say that Simon Rose is off on the sick at the moment, so I've been passed the report and I'll do my best to go through it with the exec member.
Okay, do you want to come in then, Keith?
Yeah, okay. Well, basically, what we're asking for Cabinet today is to approve the tender, to let the tender. Basically, we have one four-bedded unit already in the borough, which has been very successful in maintaining young people, obviously young people over 16. But over the last few months, we've seen the demand for this grow significantly, where we've been unable to place these young people or maintain them in long-term foster homes. So the Children's Service have done a pilot with housing, and they've come up with this enhanced floating support service with a 3 single occupancy bed unit. Is that, yeah? So we know that these children would otherwise end up in out-of-county residential care at a vast amount of money. So the pilot proved very successful. It maintains the young people in their local area with their local connections, and as I say, the pilot's bit has gone very well. So we went through a tender process in the usual way, and I think if you look at 4.2, you can see where the process for the tender, and then at 4.3, the evaluation process and the award criteria. So the award would be 80% on quality, 20% on price, and then the quality criteria is detailed at 4.4. 2 bids were received, and they were both interviewed and evaluated, and provider 1 got a score of 8.9 at a cost of 473. Well, nearly 474, and 2 5.4 at 485. So the recommendation to Cabinet is that we are the contract for the provision of the Young Persons Enhanced Support Service is awarded to provider 1 following this tender process. I think if you look at your papers, we did spot a typo this morning, or an error. So the actual recommendation is, it is recommended that the contract for the provision of Young Persons Enhanced Support Service is awarded to provider 1, not the generic homeless hostel. So apologies for that, but I wasn't aware I was presenting it and I didn't pick it up.
Okay, no problem, Keith. Members, anyone want to come in with any questions or comments about this? I think it seems like a good, an important sort of thing that we take forward to, yeah, okay. Oh, sorry, you coming in, Rich? I'm sorry, I'll speak first because I started, then I'll bring in Richard and Fiona. Sorry, I'm trying to look in 3 different directions here, at the screen and in the room. I think it's very important, as you say, to try and help this group of potentially vulnerable people to stay in their own areas and to reduce the out-of-county costs and inconvenience to their lives as well. And I welcome the fact we're building on a successful pilot too. So I'll cut my comments there. I'll go to Fiona first on the screen and then Richard in the room.
Thank you, Leader. I wanted to reflect the same comments as yourself. I mean, we all know the benefits of having local providers within our own communities. The networks that young people have in this area are going to lead to far better outcomes for them. So keeping them local, keep them close to their familiar areas, what they're used to, their bus services, whatever it might be, gives as well as friends and support, gives much better outcomes overall. But crucially as well is that for us as a service, it means that they're close to us. We know what services we have within our own borough, and we know our children. We know our children, we can be more bespoke to them. So I absolutely 100% fully support this report, and I'm really pleased to see it coming forward after, as you've already said, a successful pilot. So thank you again to all officers for all the work that they've done in bringing this into fruition.
Great, thanks, Fiona. I've got Richard and then Daviol.
I'm basically just going to echo what has already been said. I think it's a credit to us that this is in-house, so to speak, that it's in Torvine for all the reasons that Fiona just said, those links. It builds on the service that's already offered by the team that see to these young people between 16 and 25. They've got a good record, a good service, and I think this just brings additionality to that in our locale. And we're not expending great sums of money outside. I think that's the secondary factor, though Nigel sitting opposite me might disagree. I think the important thing, and I wouldn't disagree on this at all, and that was a churlish thing to say, is the effect on the individuals. They're within their community, they're within their friends, the services they know, and what a great integration from them from youth into adulthood, and us offering the best to that portion of our community. So wholeheartedly support this.
Great, thanks, Rich. David.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea, and it's a pity we didn't have the resources to extend this provision even wider. One question, what's the extent and quality of supervision?
Well, the unit is fully staffed 24/7, and then there's also this enhanced floating support service, that will meet young people at other times in the day and take them out, etc. So it's a wraparound service, Councillor Yao.
Good.
Great. I guess the idea is to make it sort of bespoke to the needs of the individual, because they may well vary greatly depending on their situation. David Daniels.
Thanks. Yeah, it's clear that it's doing what's best for the young people. I think at a crucial age for them as well. I think particularly with the group that we're talking about and the vulnerabilities there, I think this is the most sustainable approach, I think, to ensuring that we kind of try and outweigh mitigate some of those vulnerabilities that they've got and give them a better start in life. So yeah, I'm wholeheartedly in favour, and I think I'd also like to reflect on the fact that we continue to place significant emphasis on quality over price, and we do get that feedback from contractors that they welcome this. That other I think it's important to note that other local authorities don't necessarily do this, and we consistently have a strong emphasis on quality and what's best for the service users, and I think that I just need to point that out really, because we get feedback from tenders to say that they welcome it.
I think that's a good point to make, David, because we talked earlier in the agenda today about recycling and waste, and that's a service that's very visible to all members of the public. This is a service that won't be visible to most members of the public because they won't use it directly, but it's an incredibly important one, both for the individuals who receive the service and also for the community as a whole, because if those individuals didn't receive the support, there would be impacts on the community more widely. And I think it's right that we view quality as the key factor in these things, even though a less scrupulous council might just be tempted to go with the cheapest way of doing things. That's not what we want to do. We want to get value for money, yes, but also to maximise the outcomes both for the young people and for our community. So I think that's an important point to make, because so often all our postbags as members, as local members, get dominated by the very visible issues that we deal with, potholes, waste collection, and those things are important. There's no doubt about it. But these things are important too, because they make a real difference to the people's lives who they impact, and they make a real difference to our community. So thank you for pointing that out. Sorry, I've gone into a rant now. Steve Vickers, come in.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks. I completely agree with all the comments that have been made. I suppose the thing just to point out, this is a decision not just about a single service, but about a pathway. So there are actually two premises involved in this particular scheme, two major premises, but there is also single occupancy dwellings, which is receiving the floating support, as Keith alluded to. So it's actually more about pathway. One of the two premises is staffed overnight, but not 24 hours. The other one is staffed 24 hours. The pilot, I spoke to Beth, the report author, this morning about this to get some of the detail, and it's worth saying there are some fantastic stories that really have changed the lives of younger people coming out of the pilot that was put in place here, and so. But indeed, expanding the pathway and moving forward is the right thing to do. So just to sort of clarify and just to add some value to that conversation, I hope.
Thank you. That's an interesting point, isn't it? Because I think it's important that we try and tell those stories, obviously without breaking the confidences of any of the people involved, because this isn't the kind of thing you get placards outside the civic centre about, but it's real transformative impact it can have on those people's lives. Or conversely, if it's not done right, then it can have we all know about what we need to do to improve the life chances of care leavers, for example, and make sure they've got every bit as much of a chance as our own children have. Our responsibility as a corporate parent is paramount to members, I know, and it's interesting you talk about that pathway, because we talk about it a lot in as junior football coaches, how you make sure you don't keep them playing up to 16 and then nothing afterwards. So a pathway between the sort of junior system, right from when they're younger, into the system more widely. And apologies for the football analogy, I'd have got told off by the former chief executive. But it's pertinent in this as well, isn't it? Because we need a pathway for those people to lead fulfilling lives right through, and not just stopping at one particular point of time. So that's important to remember. So thanks, colleagues, for contributions there. I think it's a really important thing to look at, and I think we'd all welcome this to come back to see how it's going, to report back maybe when Simon's about as well, to have a discussion about this and how we make sure that pathway is a valued one. If I can move then to the recommendations, and noting the amendment to the type of the recommendations that Keith put. So we at 8.1, it's recommended that the contract for the provision of the Young Person's Enhanced Support Service pathway is awarded to provider 1 following the outcome of a tender process. Can I have a show of hands in favour of that? And that wording's noted, thank you. And that's everyone in favour. Anyone against? I didn't see anyone. So that's carried unanimously. Thank you, Keith, for stepping in at the last minute there. I know that's not easy with a report, and thank you, members, for the discussion on that point as well. I think it shows how much we value that particular group of young people. Item 9 on the agenda then is the exclusion of press and public. Everyone in favour of that, as outlined on the agenda? Okay, no one against? So can I confirm that the recording has stopped and then